All right. Welcome back to the GOAT Cast. This is the GOAT Cast Season 4, Episode 3. And this is some more NBA talk. The NBA season is winding down, and it's a wild race in the Western Conference, and I'll be speaking on that. If you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It just helps the channel do a little bit better. So, yeah, if you just feel the need, please do so. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, please follow. I have links to all these different sites in my description. So if you're listening on Spotify, I'll link you to my YouTube. If you listen on YouTube, I'll link you to the Spotify pages. So yeah, it just helps me out as I'm doing this for fun. As an avid entertainment enthusiast and a sports enthusiast, I just felt the need to just do a little something, do a little podcast. So that's what we're doing here. And yeah, today we're going to have some more NBA talk. If you've watched my shorts on YouTube, you know I've been discussing several topics. At the end, we will go through the Michael Jordan and LeBron James comparison. I'm tired of it. I think it's been over, but I'll let you know what a couple of my Facebook groups think. I did a poll, 2 groups, and I'll let you know how that turned out. Do people feel like LeBron James is the GOAT? Do they feel like Mike's the GOAT? Let you know later. But right now we want to, and I'll discuss probably next week. I will do another episode of NBA Talk where we'll discuss the Eastern Conference. I feel like the Eastern Conference right now has more. It's pretty much laid out the way it's going to be. I think that the top tier teams are going to stay where they're at. They're going to be a force, and the lower rung teams that will probably creep into the playoffs, there'll probably not be too much resistance to the top teams. I think there we're going to see at least the 1 and 2, maybe 3, just really. I think we're going to see them go far in the playoffs. Don't know if I can say that in the Western Conference, and that's where we're headed to, and that's where I'm going to liaison into that talk. So, yeah, so the Western Conference, as of right now, is just a wide open field. You can look at the standings change on a day-to-day basis. So one day your team might be in the playoffs, the next day they might be in the play-in. It's that close. There is absolutely no room for any, as you're seeing with the Dallas Mavericks, there's no room for any sliding because couple game losing streak and you are completely out. Because if a team wins just one game, which is crazy, if a team wins one game, it could be the difference between play in and just played out. You're not getting in. So right now, atop of the Western Conference, we have the Denver Nuggets, Memphis Grizzlies, Sacramento Kings, Phoenix Suns, LA Clippers, and the Golden State Warriors, who lost last night. And then right now, hovering in the play-in tournament, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who won, New Orleans Pelicans without Zion, Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron's back, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have been playing okay, but they've been kind of having a rough time as well. And the crazy thing is, if the Lakers or the Thunder lose and Dallas so happens to win their next one, Dallas will creep back in and one of them will be knocked back down, possibly. So, excuse me, I need a sip of coffee. So yeah, there is very little room for just not giving your all. And I think, and I did do a short on load management. I think right now we're seeing the effects of load management because there were games where the Lakers could have easily won had AD played or LeBron played or certain players played, but they didn't, and they lost. And now it's coming back to bite them because now they're having to fight tooth and nail just to make it into the play-in, not the playoffs, but the play-in, just to play in the mini tournament they're having to fight tooth and nail. And I understand that when you have a team of guys, Anthony Davis isn't old. That's the crazy thing. He's not old. I could see if he was like 33, 34. But he's what? I think he's 29, about to be 30. And you're having to load manage for him. That's just, you would think that with advanced technologies, advanced statistics, the ability to have nutritionists and people that can know your body 10 times better than they did years ago, that these guys wouldn't get hurt as much. You'd think they would, they would have people that would, kind of look over their diet, just examine them to say, try not to do this and do this and not do that. It's just baffling to me how much these guys get hurt. And I understand basketball is, you don't have any kind of pads, you don't have any kind of protection when you're playing in an NBA game or in a basketball game, period. So, you can get knee to knee, you can get an elbow, you can, you're playing on hardwood. So you can, if you fall, there's definitely chances to damage yourself. But it seems like now it's just a time where a lot of the star players just get hurt a lot. And it's been I think that's kind of why a lot of fans have been down on the NBA lately, because, you'll see one spectacular game from Anthony Davis and then he takes off the next two. Or you see a spectacular game from Kawhi Leonard and then he takes off the next two. It's like we need that continuity to, feel like you are worthy of your greatness. And I can commend LeBron because for the most part, he's done that. He's played, he's come to play. But, as he's gotten older, and I can attest to that being in my 40s, when you get older, the injuries take a little longer to heal. When you get hurt, it's not like you can just spring back up and just walk it off. It takes some time. Your body just does not heal like it used to. And when you're playing at a high level like he is, you those aches and pains catch up, and they don't go away as easily as they did when you were in your 20s or early 30s. They linger, and I can understand someone like LeBron because he's at an advanced age when it comes to sports. He's battling not only the other athletes, but he's battling father time. So I can understand that. But guys not even 30 yet, having to load manage, or in their early 30s, load managing is just. But anyway, I've spoken on that. If you go to my YouTube page, you can check my short on that. It's just crazy to me. But yeah, so with all this, and you can tell, like a young team like Sacramento, they're the third seed. They have a very much over 500 winning record. And it's because they have a lot of young guys and guys that are going to be out there ready to play every night. You love to see that. Same thing with Memphis, even though Memphis has had some issues with John Moran and other players. And, they might have to have the best attitude. I like it. I like their attitude because I think that brings something to the game that's missing, is that just that hardcore, just that dog. You don't see that now. Everybody's friends. Everybody's bigging up everybody. But when you have a team that play the villains, it makes the game more interesting, and you want to see. There are literally games where you want to see that team lose, and so you're going to tune in to try to see Dylan Brooks and these guys just get beat up. It adds intrigue, but when everybody's buddy and man, this guy's great and that team's great and they're going far. I mean, where's the competitiveness there? So I don't know. But I'm looking at these younger teams and you see them at the top of the standings. Now, does that mean that these young teams have a chance when it comes to playoffs? That's where it gets a little dicey. and I did a top 5 scariest teams going into the playoffs in the Western Conference. Did a short of that yesterday. Check it out on the YouTube page. But I'm going to speak on my top 5, and you let me know. Do you agree? Do you not agree? I'm going to start with my number 5 team, and that's the Lakers. And even though yesterday they looked kind of abysmal, they had LeBron coming off the bench, and they played I think Pat Bev, and if you see the thumbnail, yeah, Pat Bev kind of sparked their energy. And I think Chicago played with a lot more energy than the Lakers. AD finished with like 15 points, something like that, 9 rebounds, and he should have feasted on a Bulls team. But when you have a team that's just out there dogs that just want that win, that happens. And LeBron looked okay. He scored some pretty decent baskets, and team didn't look bad, but they just didn't have that energy that Chicago brought, and it showed in the box score and in the final outcome. They're my number 5 scariest team. When you have somebody like AD that has the potential to go off, and you just cannot stop him. I watched some games with him, and I'm like, these guys just can't stop him. He's just big and athletic, and he can defend. So, and their defense they have the number 1 defense from what I hear since the trade deadline, which is impressive. And that's defense is what wins championships. So when you have a top-rated defense, you're definitely a scary team to play because you can win games just off of defense. And with them, possibly playing younger teams, that's going to be a big, big, big plus for them because a Sacramento or even a Memphis, they're going to struggle against a team that just has a tight-knit defense and can score. And they've done better at that since the trade deadline, since they've made all the moves that they made. I just fear that there's too many pieces that have been changed. And playoff basketball is different. You can't just go out there and be like, we're going to play playoff basketball. There has to be, you need some veterans out there that can really, move the game because the game's going to slow down. So sometimes that's a detriment to certain teams and certain players. I could see that with the Lakers. Once the game slows down, if you're going against a team that's been together for a while, even if they're not a playoff savvy team, if they've been together, they kind of can trust each other. In this case, these guys haven't really been to the playoffs like that, so they might defer to LeBron or to AD. And teams will figure that out because you got 7 games, if needed, to figure out the other team. So if you're just going to play a 2-man team, teams are going to figure that out, and they're just going to say, well, those 2 players beat us. We're going to play everybody else tight. Y'all beat us. And 2 guys in a team sport can't beat you by themselves. It's just not possible. You need a 3rd and 4th, even 5th scorer. Somebody to be able to just add something to the game. So they're my 5th. The Lakers are my 5th scariest team, but I don't know how scary they are. I've got to see them play again with LeBron back in the lineup because they didn't look too great. And Austin Reeves, for as good as he's been these last couple of games, that's not your savior. Please don't do what you did with Alex Caruso and Kuzma and all these other players. He's having some good games, but Jeremy Lin had good games, and we saw what happened there. So my number 4 team right now, scariest team, is the Denver Nuggets, and that's probably shocking to some people since they are the number 1 team in the West. Have a stellar record right now, 50-24. That's the 3rd best third best in the whole NBA. But they remind me of, I can't remember what year, but that Atlanta Hawks team that was just, it had Paul Millsap and Kyle Korver and I think Al Horford. And they were just on a tear through the Eastern Conference. They were number one, and then they just fizzled in the playoffs. And that's how this Denver Nuggets team feels to me. As great as Nikola Jokic is, and he doesn't have a bad nucleus around him. He's got Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon, and just a solid team. But those type of teams to me kind of shrink in the playoffs, especially since they don't have that great of a defense either. Their defense isn't that good. And they rely a lot on Jokic. Jokic has to do a lot. And when we saw that with a couple of years ago with Giannis, when teams just completely swarmed Giannis and kept him out of his comfort zone, the Bucks they just didn't have it. And I can see that with the Denver Nuggets, a smartly coached team. I say if a team like Golden State, even though they're kind of iffy, if a team like Golden State were to play them, or even a Lakers team, Clippers team, something like that, that has a solid coach and solid team that can figure you out, I'd be fearful if I'm the Denver Nuggets. They even feel like that San Antonio team and Spurs team in 2011, I think it was, where they were just wrecking shop. They were number one, I think 62-20. Met the Memphis Grizzlies, the Zebo, Mike Conley, who was it? Rudy Gay, Marc Gasol, Grindhouse, Tony Allen, the Grindhouse Memphis Grizzlies, and they looked nothing like the team that we saw in the regular season. So a lot of good regular season teams can just flat out be exposed in the playoffs. And I think that this Denver Nuggets team, while they can be scary, and if they get it together and play like they do in the regular season, I think they definitely have a chance to be scary and go far. But it's going to definitely be a matter of them showing up and them maturing as a team, because they've gotten far before. They got to the Western Conference Finals, I think, was it last year or the year before? So they know how to get there. It's just there's going to be some tough teams that they're going to have to really focus in on, and there's no room for bad nights for your top players. You got to, they've got to come to play every night. So that brings me to my number 3 most dangerous team, which is the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies could be one of the best teams in the league if they didn't have such egos. I will say that if they didn't have they have a somewhat immature mentality. I think they play with emotion, and that's fine, because emotion can get you far, or it can completely throw your game off. So you have to have the right mix of emotion and just laser focus. And I think that they're missing that balance, and their leader doesn't have that balance yet, John Morant. So they feed off of him. And if he's not focused and laser focused, they're not, because they're still young. But that team, I would not want to play in the playoffs, because they are just that good. They're a tough team. Everybody kind of knows their role, and that's what's scary on a team. When everybody knows their role, they know exactly what they need to do to balance the team. They're a tough team to beat. And I think this team has those type of guys. They're not going to overstep their bounds. They're not going to try to be the hero. They know what to do. and they play with a chip on their shoulders. And I think that's going to be a dangerous thing coming into the playoffs, especially all the hoopla that's gone off with Ja, and they've just had these attitudes all season. So I think they have something to prove. It's just like I said, they have to balance their emotions and their focus. If they can do that and carry that into the playoffs, I would not want to be playing them. Like I could see them sweeping a team like Sacramento. I could see them sweeping a team like even though I hate to say it, but the Lakers. I could see them being just a tough matchup for the Lakers because they match up physically with them. They have athletes that can outgun the Lakers. So I would not want to see them first round, and they are the third scariest team. That's tough to say because they are number 2 in the West, so they should be a little higher up. But there's two teams that I think just have a little bit more, and are ready to prove that. And that leads me to number 2, which is the Los Angeles Clippers. A lot of people are down on them right now because of the Paul George injury. And the thing about Paul George is that I've seen throughout the seasons is that he can come back and still be productive, even if he's been injured. Once he comes back, it doesn't take him a long time to get back in the flow of the game. So I think that's going to be beneficial to the Clippers because he'll get some rest, he'll be ready, and then they have quite a bit, and they have a. I never liked Ty Lue, but I can't say that he's not a great coach, and he is a great coach, and I think that's going to lead them far. They've had their missteps in the past, but I think, and I don't think the Russell Westbrook piece really hurts them going into playoffs. I think that'll help them because when the game slows down, you need somebody that can speed it up, and he can. If he can do that under control for that team, pass when it's the right time to pass and not just try to overdo things, he can be a true big asset to them. But when you have defenders, and Westbrook can defend a little bit, when you have a Kawhi and a Paul George out there that can defend, and you have I think Morris that's out there, Marcus Morris Sr. You have a Norman Powell that's been great this season. Zubac is a solid big man. You add in Eric Gordon, Nicholas Batum. He's up there a little bit, but he can still give you something. And you have Robert Covington. You've got all these solid pieces together. I I would not want to play them because they have the right mix of defense and offense. They have, Kawhi can score, Paul George can score, but they have dogs out there like Morris, Zubac, Covington, and even Westbrook. These guys are going to come at you, and that balance, I think, of solid defense and good offense, I think I wouldn't want to play them either. Like their position right now to play the Phoenix Suns, who we'll talk about here in a minute, that could be rough. That could be if I'm Phoenix, I'm trying to. It's kind of impossible for them to get to that 3 spot, but I'm looking at how can we kind of finagle this to where we could maybe get the Kings, because you don't want the LA Clippers in the first round. You really don't, because you have KD coming back, and then you'll probably have Paul George coming back. But the way LA defends, you can't really ease into KD's going to have to come back ready for war. And I'm not sure if he'll be able to sustain that if the Clippers come out full throttle because they can ease Paul George in a little bit. As long as Paul George can do what he can do, they have enough different weapons that they can still get the points they need from the people they need it from. So they're the number two, but like I just mentioned, the team Phoenix Suns is my number one scariest team in the Western Conference, and I think that shouldn't be a surprise if KD comes back. And from what I'm hearing, he may be back Wednesday. So with him back, getting some run in, the Phoenix Suns with DeAndre Ayton, with Chris Paul, with Devin Booker, and with a even 85% KD can just wipe teams out offensively. And they're pretty rugged defensively. That would be my big concern is their defense because it's not. They lost a lot of pieces that were great defensively, but they have such a powerful offense and teams. You really can't. There's no way to really. There's no way to defend when you have two guys that can score like they can, and I think it's just going to be, that's where they're going to really be solid is their offense. But if they ever have an off night, that's where it's going to be kind of tough for the Phoenix Suns. But I just don't. KD's not a streaky guy. He's going to give you. He's going to give you, the points, no matter what. He's not going to. He usually does not trail off. Devin Booker, not so much. He can. Chris Paul, he's old. You can't really depend on him like that right now. But Ayton. He's the type of player that can pick up the slack if Devin's off. But I think you're going to get what you're going to get from KD. He's going to give you the points in the matchup. But so I just don't see any team really being more scary than the Phoenix Suns. If I'm any team in the Western Conference, I do not want to see the Phoenix Suns in round one. So let me know in the comment sections. Let me know in the, however you want to reach out. Let me know what you think about the scariest teams in the West. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm missing somebody? I know people might be mad that I omitted the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings, but they got to show me more. The Golden State lost last night to the Timberwolves, so I just don't know if they have it in them, especially since they're so much lower on the rung and they have just had an abysmal time on the road. So most of their playoff games are going to be on the road. So I can't see them being that big of a threat. But playoffs is a whole different beast. So maybe Golden State will, that veteranship will shine come playoff time. But right now I have to go with my gut, and my gut says they're not quite ready. So I'm going to talk about the Eastern Conference next week. 5 scariest team. I will probably do a short on that if you're on my Facebook. My YouTube channel. And like I said, the links will be in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And if you go to YouTube, it's GoatCast Podcast. Just look it up and check me out there. Like I said, I do shorts almost every day, maybe twice a day. Just different topics. Talked about Skip Bayless yesterday and his tweet and him trolling. I know a troll when I see one, and Skip Bayless likes to troll. And his praise of the Lakers was him trolling. But anyway, we're gonna move on to the last topic. I don't want to go too long on this, so I'm going to go ahead and run over here. the MJ LeBron constant debate. Who is the GOAT? Is LeBron the GOAT because he's shattered all the records? He's played at a high level for almost his entire career. But he's had a lot of bumps in the road. Or do we talk about, or do we think Jordan's the GOAT? Yes, Jordan had bumps in the road as well, getting to a point where he was on a team that was poised to win it all. Took him a while. Took him changing some of his game. Took him bulking up. Took him making changes to finally get there. But once he got there, he didn't lose. So but he also has shattered a lot of records, and he also holds current records that have yet to be beat, and he's been out the league for 20 years. So should this debate, I should say, go on, or should we just let this go? And I think we should let it go. I've done 2 polls on 2 different fan groups on Facebook, and I will shout those groups out here in a minute. But first, I'm going to give you my short opinion on this, and that is that Michael Jordan statistically in his prime versus LeBron James statistically in his prime was better. So I think that's where the debate should end. You can talk about longevity. You can talk about stats. Longevity stats to me aren't. That just means you played a long time, and if you take care of your body, and if that's your passion, you can do that. I mean, I'm sure Jordan could have played longer, and these other players could have played longer, but they probably didn't have the passion for it. They did what they're set out to do. They met their goals, and they said, you know what? I'm not going to put all this wear and tear on my body. I'm gonna go into the sunset. I've done what I wanted to do. I've gotten the rings. I've gotten the championships. I've gotten the accolades. Why would I keep on going chasing stats? That's just not. When I played, I didn't care about stats. I just cared about us winning, or just performing at my best. As long as I perform at my best, I didn't care about the stats. I tried to be productive, but as long as I was productive, I felt like that's what I was there for. I didn't care if I scored the most points. If I just was productive and helped the team, then I felt satisfied. So anyway, so on these 2 fan groups, there's one is the official NBA fans group, and I'll link it in my description. So if you want to join, talk junk about NBA, please join. So on Facebook, I asked the question, who is the GOAT, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? I gave them 3 options, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, and other. And the score was 69% Michael Jordan, 24% LeBron James, and 7% other. Jordan ran away with it. Okay, so that was that group. And the other group is the NBA Sports News Talk Debate Group, Basketball Cards, Memorabilia, DFS group, and I will link that group. It's a private group. I will also link that group in my description. In that group, I asked the same exact question, and Michael Jordan, 83%, LeBron James, 16%, other 1%. The other didn't get a vote. So, and both groups are very diverse, different ages, different ethnicities. There's a lot of different people, but both came to one common choice, and that was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the greatest. LeBron James, that does not take away LeBron James' greatness. And I think that's what people feel, is that if we call Michael Jordan the greatest, that diminishes LeBron, but it doesn't. LeBron can be great, just not the greatest. And we should all, understand that and not feel any type of way about that. So, I mean, that's how I feel. Michael Jordan's the greatest. Once again, shout out to these 2 groups. I will link them in the description. If you want to join them, please do. They're a great group. They have it's a lot of MJ LeBron talk over there, and there's a lot of Lakers talk. So if you're into that, please join. I'll link my information in the description. If you want to email me, if you want to add me on Twitter, if you want to add me on Facebook, I will leave all that information in the descriptions. And I just thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was a little different. This is how probably the GoatCast podcast episodes will go from now on. Just we'll stay on topic and just go through that topic. And I'm gonna try to be more interactive with the groups I'm in and anything, and kind of, get some analytics throughout the week and bring them to the podcast. So if you're looking for me, definitely check me out on YouTube. I will be posting shorts throughout this week. The Mandalorian season 3 is still ongoing, so I will be speaking on that come Wednesday. Lots of basketball going on, so I'll be reacting to that. And just entertainment. I might do some more wrestling. We got WrestleMania coming up this weekend, so I'll definitely probably be doing some shorts on that. So just check it out, and appreciate all your views and listens. And thank you for listening to the GoatCast. And we are out.